Hey guys, welcome back again. This is Hyro Chacon speaking. I just want to say thank you so much for joining in. As you know, the title of this video is "This is not a review of the Fujifilm x100v," and that's exactly what it is. So let me get right into it. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about this camera specifically, and one of the main important subject that I wanted to touch on is why did I buy this camera? Because let's face it, $1,500 for a camera that is a fixed lens, non-interchangeable lens camera body, is very expensive to do that. The first reason is that it had to do with personal and paid projects. My first experience with this camera was when someone randomly messaged me on Facebook Messenger. He knew that I shot with Fujifilm. He managed to find a Fujifilm x100s and he reached out to me. He offered a price. I counter offered and managed to buy for $80, which is a heck of a deal just because I just checked on eBay, on Amazon. It's very expensive. It's definitely not $80, I'll tell you that. But that was my first experience with it. I purchased the camera, and one thing I remember most about using that camera is when I went to Mexico on a family trip. I took it with me. I didn't want to take anything else, and I realized this was like a perfect opportunity and a test for me to use it. And I have to tell you that I took some of my favorite photos with the x100s. It was out of this world. I could not believe the image quality that came out of that camera in a tiny package. It blew my mind away. And I said, okay, this is the real deal. Now I understand why people buy these type of cameras. It's worth it. If you are a photographer that works and gets paid and does it for a living, sometimes you don't want to worry about all the gears that you have at home. You just want to bring one camera. For most people, it can be their iPhones, their Androids, whatever phone that is capable of taking pictures. But for some of us, we still feel comfortable holding a camera in our hands, and that's where the Fujifilm X100 series comes in. So I was spoiled so much with the image quality that I was receiving with the X100s that I wanted to take it to my paid opportunities, my paid projects. And I started to realize that the X100s wasn't up to date as some of my other camera bodies that I have that I take with me for paid sessions. And I wanted to investigate if there was an update in the X100 lineup, and sure enough, the X100v was available. So at the time I was deciding to make a purchase of the X100v, I started to realize that I wanted to Also purchased a 23mm f2 or f1.4 lens, and I started to realize what I wanted was not the lens. Well, let me take it back. I wanted the lens. What I did not want was to add another lens in my camera kit, simply because I had way too many. See, one thing about me is that I am a prime lens shooter. I don't use zoom lenses a lot, just because I need that extra stop of the aperture. For the faster lenses, I need an f1.2. I need an f1.4. So at the time, I had the 56, the 35, and the 16mm lenses. I started to realize that the 16 was a little bit too wide sometimes for group photos. I think it was distorting the view a little bit too much for me. So I decided to look into the 23mm focal length. I saw results of it, and I had experience with the x100s, and I enjoyed it. I think it was perfect for those moments where I just need a little bit more room in the camera sensor real estate. Hello, crop sensor. So this brings me to point number 2, why I bought this camera. The aesthetic appeal. It's a retro camera style. It's reminiscent of the bygone era. I enjoy looking at the rounded, sharp edges. It's definitely one of the most polished version of the x100 series cameras. It's definitely an eye candy, and I still enjoy using the analog control. One thing that I realized is that I wish that the X Pro 2 has this way of changing the ISO. All you have to do is pop it up and rotate. When I experienced that for the first time, my mind was blown away, and I just don't understand why Fujifilm doesn't do it with the X Pro 2. I'm not sure if the X Pro 3 does that, and if it does, then that just means I'm gonna have to buy it. One thing I like about this camera is that it has automatic macro mode. So if I want to take a picture of something up close and personal with it, I can. If you remember the previous X100 series cameras, like the X100F and before it, you would have to manually select macro mode. With this camera, you don't. It does it automatically. I can do everything one-handed. However, you need the thumb rest. This thumb rest is so good that I can literally do everything one-handed. I can turn on the camera. I can point the camera at a subject or whatever I want to take a picture of. Rest my thumb against the grip. It's like I'm pinching it. I'm pinching against the body, and I realize how much that helps when it comes to taking pictures with one hand. The only bad thing is that the specific brand that I have is not cheap, and I don't really suggest many people to spend that much money on accessory. The reason why I spend is because the company is paying for it. However, there are cheaper alternatives out there that you can buy for the thumb rest. I highly recommend it. It's just such a good accessory to have. It's really good. So now that I kind of went over the reasons why I bought this camera, I just want to describe or talk about what this camera makes me feel. When I use it, I don't think about anything else. I don't feel any distraction. I don't feel anything that is distracting me from my goal, which is to take pictures. And I think that is so important as a photographer. If you have a camera that allows you to just take pictures as comfortable as you can. This camera has the soul, emotion, passion, energy, the embodiment of the passion of Fujifilm. The reason why I say that is because Fujifilm has a history of creating film stocks which still exist today. The embodiment of the passion of Fujifilm is in the film simulation mode. So I'm going to use film simulation and JPEGs interchangeably just because film simulation does impact your raw files, but the recipes, the film simulation is not baked in, the color is not baked in to the JPEGs until you actually convert it in the camera body. What I realized is that this camera specifically has an amazing JPEG customization. This is one of the most important elements of the Fujifilm ecosystem. You hear time and time again about the quality of the JPEG. In fact, the whole brand is built on the film simulation experience, and it really is impressive at the customization one can spend hours and hours experimenting and creating. And if you don't feel like spending time on the camera body customizing your favorite looks, you can still create your favorite looks and recipes in your choice of raw editing tools using the film simulation as the base. But I think that defeats the purpose of using this camera. I just want to finish off by saying this. A good looking product will motivate you to use it. A well-made product will keep you using it. This is what the X100 excels at. It gives you a beautifully made camera with enough guts to keep it from feeling like a shallow machine. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Hiro Chacon. I'll see you later. Stop watching this video. Seriously. Go create. Come on, get out of the house. What are you doing? Go create. If not, subscribe. Just subscribe. Just click it. Come on. Click it. Now.